Hi folks, thought I'd give you one last look at the BF Barnes before it leaves. I'm not very well versed on Facebook, so I don't go there very much, and I'd put this on the messenger, or excuse me, on the marketplace, and I had 4 messages on it. And I'd already planned to turn it into a mailbox, and my wife approved. One caveat was she gets to pick which color. So maybe it's a good thing that I don't have a pink drill press out for a mailbox. Man's supposed to come today or tomorrow and pick it up. Working on the PTO shaft to this mower that we tried bending back in one of the early videos, or unbending. Got all the parts, just got to find the time. Had to hook it onto the tractor so I could use it as a counterbalance to pick up a mill the other day. These mills are heavy if you don't have enough back weight. Now, for those of you that can't stand a dirty shop, this is probably going to kill you. So maybe a couple Advil before you watch this. That has been a lifesaver. That is an oil recovery unit. Works on air pressure, creates a vacuum. And so far, that's how much stuff we've sucked out of this old lathe here. This is a 1957 Axelson 16-inch. And look what I found. I found a steady rest for it. Hard to find those. This one's going to have some scraping done on the carriage and everything, and we're probably just going to have to tear it down to make sure everything's okay. I did put a new oil window in it so I could put some oil. It was bone dry. Work's progressing on the head unit. I even need a little bit more on it. That was the old oil window that I dug out of it. And there's a new one. I'll put some oil in it today. I've worked on the insides of this and got all the major rust off of it, oiled down and sealed the case as best I can. It's going to get a top put on it, 3 gallons of oil, and then we'll check out the rest of the lathe to make sure it's working before we go into full-blown restoration of it. It's got a new electrical box on the end. These are just old square scrap parts I had laying around upstairs. Don's been busy in there. He put us a starter in there and some terminal blocks, and all this was gone when we got the lathe. In fact, here it is over here. Somebody hit it with I'm guessing a forklift. So we had to replace everything in there. I even got it some new switches and an oil drip window. That, when you look in there when it's running, it should be dripping. If it's not, you got an oil pump problem. Got the baby cleaned up as best I can. I've run about 5 to 7 gallons of diesel through the bottom and the pump. Got some magnets stacked down there. Pick up any little pieces of metal. I do have to make a felt washer to go here before we put the top back on. Top's been needle gunned and 2 coats of that good paint we found on it. Technically, I'm ready to button it back up when I get that washer made. Got a new oil filter installed down in there. I've already ran diesel through it with 1 filter. Then we sucked everything else out and I'm going to go from there. I tell you, I'm surrounded by machines that don't work. Lawnmower doesn't work. The 16 doesn't work. That Camelback doesn't work yet. Guess it could, just needs a motor on it. That needs a little bit of work, just no time. Here's the PTO shaft we straightened out. It came out pretty good, but I walked into the John Deere dealer to get a new set of bearings, and the guy saw me holding that, and he says, "What do you need, the inside or outside tube?" Highly upset with the man from John Deere that didn't tell me you could just buy these tubes from them for $38. Brian Block sent me a catalog listing, but nothing matched up. That's the right tube. Just gotta press the old one out and press the new one in. Then I get to go mow the yard. Oh boy. Guess the elephant in the room's this new mill. The green mill I had for sale is gone. Young man bought it. And I spied this one and picked it up. Doesn't it look great? It's not totally clapped out on the paint. It has been repainted. Table's not all beat to hell. This is the biggest red herring you could ever look for, guys. So far, the repair parts for this mill are over $2,000, and I haven't even taken the head off yet. Don't buy mills on looks alone. People will look down here and say, "Hey, look, still got the flaking. This thing not worn at all. They didn't use this one at all." Well, you look at the table and you think, "Well, it's never been used either." This is a 48-inch table instead of the standard 42s. This mill is worn out. I think somebody has put a collection of parts onto the base over the years to keep it running. The base has been painted. That's the original color underneath there. This is a 1989 base. Now, all Bridgeports and things like that have head serial numbers, but there's not really a good listing that I've found that tells you what those serial numbers equate to. Here's a drive serial number up here. Can't tell by the year, is what I meant. There's a head serial number. Then you've got the base serial number down here. Well, that number is what you look up and it goes to 89. It's got the plastic covers. And this one will do curves. You didn't know that the Rams could do curves? That one's kind of bent all to pieces. All the handles move. The motor's been replaced. I'm not even sure that this lower head section goes to the pancake up here. There's lots of wear and spots around here that there just shouldn't be wear. Well, there's none on these, so what's up with that? Handles broke off the spindle wheel. Now, there is wear where they've worn here. Now, I don't know for sure about the pancake, but everything else looks fishy. And a lot of times they'll put a whole new head on the base. Well, I powered it up and was listening to it. And so far I've ordered bearings to replace in that motor. They sound bad. The Vari-disc spindles are bad. And so I've ordered a kit to rebuild from up here down to here. The only good thing about this is why I like to buy the Bridgeports, is you can rebuild them. Every single part is on here at a reasonable cost. Well, depends on what you call reasonable. And don't ever let anybody tell you when there's a little slop in the handle that it's the just needs a new bronze bushing. When they've got this much slop, that screw's bad. And if you run this table all the way out, which, heck, stand by, I'll do it for you. It's a Servo 150. Sounds pretty good. Did you hear how that motor started getting under more load? Well, there's the screw right there. And then as you go down that screw, it gets a lot thinner. That's because these mills never get used way down here. Most of the mills go back and forth in this one little area in the center. Let's talk about this. A lot of people will sit here and look at this and say, hey, you can still see flaking. This thing hadn't been used at all. In fact, it's been used to death. These are chrome ways. They stand up a lot better than if I were just to scrape this. I've got to measure this, and I'm still undecided whether this thing's going to take a ride on my planer or not. I had the 4 foot straight edge out on it, and it's got about a 3-inch 3/1000 drop from this edge to over there. It's high in the middle, as they usually are. You know, people put your T-bolts in here, and everybody thinks these things droop because the table's unsupported. Well, that's not the case. The problem is this right here. People put your T-bolts in, and then they tighten the bejesus out of them, and it peens up underneath that little lip right there. Get my big fat fingers in there. And that stretches this metal up on top, and it makes it go banana shape. Now, I've seen them 20, 30 thousandths banana shape. This one, if I were going to keep it for me, I'd give it a ride on the planer and scraper, only because I can. I have the tools. It doesn't cost me $3,000 to have this ground and scraped. Commerce Grinding in Dallas wants, for a 42-inch, $1,100 just to grind the table, not counting the saddle or the knee. You can box those parts up there and ship them up to Illinois to H&W, who does a good job, and it's $3,000 for them to scrape this all back. So, the Y is just as bad. So I've ordered new shafts and nuts for down here. I'm going to replace all the wear parts in this. Up here, like I said, I ordered new bearings for the motor, a whole new upper rebuild kit. As far as I can tell, this in here and the down feed seem to be in okay. But there's another red herring. Okay doesn't mean they're great. Get your stethoscope out. Well, I retired 10 years ago from being a paramedic, and I've listened to many a patient's hearts and chest with that, and it's served me in good stead on all these machines too. Find you one, you can hear things. I could hear those motor bearings. I also heard something that made me buy 2 of these parts. This is the part that goes around your spindle, and those little splines in there get worn by, you know, fly cutters and stuff going clink, clink, just always doing that. This part usually gets worn from the very disc sliding up and down. I've got to change the bearings, so I just, in good conscience, can't change these parts. These are little dogs. See how wore they get? It's half size. So it's $500 for those 2 parts. But you might as well figure on doing it if you're going to work on the very disc. That means that once I'm through up here, the only thing that really could be suspect is the spindle and the spindle bearings. I listen to them, they sound great. The splines may be beat up a little bit where they go through this, but if I was keeping it for myself, I would probably bite the bullet and go ahead and do it. And by the time I'm through with all this, I've got a new machine. Spindles are, with the bearings, are $1,700. That's why I didn't do it. Did get a new American flag and some motor plates. Anyway, don't be taken in by good looks. Fancy paint job. And a lot of people even come up here, polish this up with Scotch-Brite, and then put more flake marks on it. By the way, that's the worst place in the world you can put flake marks. All the dadgum mill chips fall down here and get drug underneath the wipers and sit in these little pockets. So you just made yourself a really good Brillo pad here. Don't do that. What else is broke around this place? Well, my baby's not broke. Baby's been doing fine. In fact, I'll show you a little clip. All those little shaper guys, you know. This is I love it when they... And you know, a shaper can do that. They just can't do a piece 8 foot long. Flower pot's still here. Hasn't moved a bit. Bridgeport's doing okay. Grinder just needs the belt put back on and tigged. These other things just keep rolling in here and taking all my time away. It's the one that's really disappointing me the most is this one. From about here down, it's in great shape. From there up, it's got problems. I had to get it over here close to the 20-inch so I could take that head off. Run out of places to work on machines. These are the very discs and the belts. Belt looks great. The discs are pretty bad. The motor shaft is shot. So what do? You could always turn it around here and mill another key slot on this side, but I suspect that's that shot. The tolerances of this shaft are pretty bad. When I got to it, it wasn't locked down right. It was floating on that shaft, making a lot of bad noises. Somebody had taken and put a regular socket head cap screw in there instead of what should have been there, a dog point set screw going into that little indentation down there, and it worked loose, going up and down. Well, I can still buy most parts for this thing, and I can buy those. Now, if I wanted to go take out a loan, I could buy from here over to here for $4,001. Then I could buy from here over to here for another $4,100. And then I could go buy the rest of them for another $8,000. That parts place, those guys are smoking some really bad crack. $16,000 just for the two vari discs. Well, I lucked out. On eBay, there were very few pieces for one of these. In fact, there were 4 listings, and I bought them all 4. Set of vari discs, 1/2 of it for this side here. I got for $100 plus shipping and all that. The side for over here was still attached to the 2 horsepower motor, which I'm hoping it will bolt onto it. It's got the same pattern. And that shaft is hopefully good. I bought that for the motor, basically. And it feels pretty tight. I got that for $100. Plus $150 shipping. It's expensive. The power down feed, if I can get over there to it. And one little part up there is not working right. The guy was selling all the parts for that, and I bought them for $280 plus shipping. So I have good parts coming for the whole top half and that. I think the spindle's okay, but I've just got too many dead-gum parts here. Too many machines going. And after considering all of the things that I have going, this machine is probably going to be leaving. Once I get it all put together up on the head and make sure it works decent. I just don't have the time or energy right now to replace it. I mean, that table's nice, and the ways, everything's great down there. Parts that are usually wore out are not. But I've got too many mills sitting around here, and one of the biggest things I hear from people is this thing here will take a huge cut, and it's a proper mill, you know. It's not a wimpy Bridgeport. Well, luckily, I have this Bridgeport for taking heavier cuts. I can fly through there at higher speeds with full coolant. So wimpiness is not really something I'm caring about right now. This machine in here, I've got to take it apart anyway to fix the base, so I might as well go ahead and fix the table up to where it's in accuracy, and everything up here is going to be good. And it's got one thing that I have used in the past, the ability to nod. I'm torn, guys. Tell me in the comments which one you think I should save. And well, they're both going to be saved. It's just which one I'm going to keep. As you can see, I'm limited on space. Oh, and this is even broken. Those things go way up in the air so you can get down and look good. Came crashing down the other day. Well, that's it for my area. It's the end cover. Don says he thinks this is going to be okay, but Don's a very optimistic person. We're down to this area and whatever I find in that. Well, thanks for hanging around and watching, seeing the little stuff I do. Oh. Anybody got any idea what's in there? It's been sitting sealed on Funkin' Wagnall's back porch for the last 4.5 months. It has something to do with this. That's my only clue. Thanks for watching.